All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's get started for real. That was a little bit of a false start. We're going to head right on over into collectively rewilding. All right. Here we are. Always quite a bit going on while we're working toward finalizing the overall space as well as updating it to integrate these new upgrades in Mighty Networks. I'm really excited. We've got some new areas that are not quite available yet, but that we're building. Julia May should be changing our icons in the next week or so. She's going to use a gradient, some of this green, maybe some yellow, some pink, different colors, like a garden that will be for each different collection, right? So I can't wait to see what she's thinking. I have asked her for the new member launch pad. To me, in a nature-based space, it should be hinting at a lily pad, right? So I did ask her to think about doing a lily pad. I think it would be really pretty and it would look really nice with just about any of the different colors that are being discussed. Let me just show you guys what it looks like here. There we go. So I think it's really pretty. I had to lighten the green background, right? So that it showed the actual lily pad, but oh gosh, I just think that would be so pretty. And I would love to get your feedback on something that I just can't quite decide what I think the best way forward is. I've given you guys kind of a showcase of different options, whether we do something like this for the thumbnails for each of these lessons. And remember, it's going to change, like in Lesko Help 2. Let me just show you guys what the difference will be really quickly. I don't think it's here. Maybe in the course. Let's check out this area right here. Okay. Do you believe this is the new way to show the material in the areas that are called courses or units or anything along that kind of a line? And so it'll look like this. I think it's really very pretty. It was a little more compact when it was the opposite variation, right? And so now the question is, do we want something like this that's very consistent, something that shows what actually was going on, something that shows collectively rewilding, the different pieces that I've had created by AI that have the overall titling. And so I would love to know what you all think about that as we go forward with all of these different options. Please feel free to just shout it out if you have something you do or don't like as well. I'm not sure which way will be better. I'll also talk to Julia May about it as well. And so those are some of the things that we're kind of doing in the background, figuring out which way works better, what we like. This is much cleaner than the other format until you get down into the interactive part of the thumbnails, right? So probably something like this or this will be better. I just can't make up my mind though. They both look really nice in their own ways. We have broken up what we have going on here to try to make it very user-friendly, very descriptive of what each piece is so that it's very easy to find different things, beginning with the start of a journey, the overall community news, some different ways for all of us to connect and show our own ventures, our own personalities. We still have all of our workshops. They have undergone some name changes just so that they fit better in the size of your contents menu. You can change that on a computer. You can make it larger or smaller. That's about as small as that'll go there. So you do have some flexibility when you're on a computer, laptop, not so much on a phone. And I think it probably would depend how you utilize it on a tablet, right? Then we have the community get-togethers, member meetups, country living and business. We'll be building some resource libraries. I'm going to take the resources that we have for gardening for each state, all these different pieces, and those will go into the resource library collection. I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't fully thought it through. There are some pieces, those I just mentioned, that I know will make it in. I think some other things will also make it in. I'm really excited about putting that type of information together in a visually appealing, readily accessible area. World regions has pretty well stayed the same. At this point, I think we're going to leave it there. We've gotten down to, again, some smaller titling so that you can see for the larger spaces, the overall world spaces, right? And Nature Spotlight will change with the icons quite dramatically. I was never satisfied with these. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with them. And I'm sure Julia May is going to come up with some really interesting ways to display the icons for that area. Finally, we have the Talk to Us. This is an About Us. And we'll also create like a questions area here, right? If you have questions and you don't know where else to ask, you'll ask in this area. And so that's the overview of what we've got going on here in Collectively Rewilding Online. As far as the garden, oh my goodness, it's so hard to move forward with physical activity when you don't feel well. So we've been struggling through, definitely, my husband has gotten a lot of the branches that were cut down from the aspen moved into the areas where we want them for the moment. We definitely have more of that to do. I got out there tonight and cut down all of the baby aspen that were growing. Let's see if it uploaded here already. And it did. So you can see the root system pushing up all of these saplings or individual trunks of a singular root system, right? And you can also see it's competing with the dead aspen that are over here. So the life competing with the dead aspect of this plant, and it is a constant battle. The grass is struggling still. We've put a lot of nutrients in that are pretty readily accessible. I can see a little bit of improvement. We haven't been able to do as much aeration as I hoped. I was only ever able to complete the one round of the whole property, and that's something that really, really needs to be done. Also continuing with different forms of readily available nutrients. And then finally layering that compost and the really, really fine wood chips. And so this is what it looks like after getting all of those little saplings. I don't know if they're called saplings. Aspen is such an unusual plant, right? And silver birch, I guess all of the poplar trees tend to have this type of root system, and many of them also put off some form of seed. Atkins for silver birch and poplar leaves or poplar seeds. I believe there's some of the winged seeds. Let's just check those out really quickly. Let's go with images. No, they're catkins as well. All right, so this is white poplar, tulip poplar. Looks like it might have an almost or single winged seed there. So definitely, this is a cottonwood, has nothing to do with poplar, totally different style of tree. However, these trees, poplars, silver birch, aspen have been around for a tremendously long time. They are very good at survival in general. Let's see, what else has been going on, guys? It's just rough getting over this congestion. So I have just not been as active as I would like to have been. Mostly I've been moving us forward here in the platform, changing some things around, updating some things, getting caught up with all of the live events that we've had. I've learned how to get posts scheduled out there throughout social media. I'm still working on learning how to use the scheduler here internally for Mighty Networks. They don't let link up to the services like Buffer. There are many post scheduling apps or services out there. Buffer is one that I used, oh goodness, almost 10 years ago. I really liked it. It was compatible with a large number of social media platforms, all of those that I used at the time. Very easy to use, not extremely expensive, and it's about the same price now. It has definitely increased in the offerings that they have. It's much more clean and user-friendly. It took me about 10 minutes maybe to figure out what the changes were over the last 10 years. Super easy to use. So that'll be putting out all of the material that we do here in Collectively Rewilding for our live events. And that is after I put it into YouTube. Right now I'm manually putting it into Collectively Rewilding, but I will be working on that scheduling tool. Some of them don't work to schedule here in Mighty Networks, like these as an example, which is for all of our live events. So as I put those up on YouTube, they're going to be immediately available to you guys here in Collectively Rewilding. The others will roll out in their time on social media. Moving all of this forward, as always, trying to find that way to get out there, get a little bit of attention, and instead of now trying to get paying members, I never really liked that. I'd way rather teach people for free anytime somebody comes up to me. I also like offering the platform to any other people that are interested in sharing their knowledge about what they do out in nature. I didn't like charging anyone. That was never something that I was super comfortable with. So going nonprofit is going to be such a huge boon in that area. I love being able to offer it up publicly, not only to the hosts and the content creators, but also to anyone that would like to join our community. So that doesn't have to be as big of a focus point. Getting these social media platforms scheduled and having active rollout, getting into Facebook. You also have to get into Meta Manager for business. They can schedule posts for all the groups that Collectively Rewilding has joined on Facebook to, again, spread that word, right? Also working with the nonprofit here in Tooele County. They were supposed to get back to me after last week. They haven't. In fact, I'm going to make a note of that. Oh my goodness, I have so many notes, right? I'm running out of places to put notes. And that's the Tooele Valley Community Co-op, a nonprofit that helps new nonprofits in the Tooele Valley. And it's been around for a decent little bit. Definitely want to be persistent, but very friendly and polite and not too frequent. I'll contact them probably this evening, get something put together in an email just to reach out to say I'm still interested. If there's any information that I can provide, maybe share a few links to different things that I have already that if they would like to take the time, they can. But so the email, the body of the email itself is very quick, friendly, and easy to take in. All of these different pieces, just continuing to move us forward, talking to all of the people that are involved in this process in the background, right? So lots going on, but not as much out in nature as I would prefer. At least though, I can be productive in our community when I don't quite feel healthy enough to get out into the sun and the dirt and the plants, right? All right. another thing you guys can definitely check out, Miss Tammy has been providing, as usual, some really interesting pieces. I have 3 of them pulled up that I'd really like to read. This is one of them. Scientists demonstrate for the first time that plants and animals interact using sound, right? We are aware nowadays of fungi and chemical communication. Sound, it looks like, is also an element of that interaction between flora and fauna. How wonderful is that? Then, continuing on that same sort of a topic, she has moths don't like to lay their eggs on plants that are screaming. So these plants are screaming that they are damaged and hurting and dying, and the moths don't really want to interact with that. It's not good for their offspring and the eggs that they want to lay, right? So more and more that we are learning, also learning about things that are, excuse me, a little bit unfortunate. However, learning about that helps us to better interact with our environment, right? In that regard, I think most of us are always trying to keep our plants healthy. However, one of the things that I would like to focus on in our personal garden report are different elements that will help each of you garden in extreme weather. Again, being where we're all in unique areas, having unique interests for our gardens, it will be person to person very specific. However, there are things that we can do to help our plants succeed against these more extreme temperatures. It's actually a pretty common topic on YouTube, and that's one of the things that I'm going to start getting incorporated here into our community to get a more consistent flow. I'm so grateful to Tammy and to Ethel, who also shares occasionally here in our community. They really keep that consistent, regular interaction going, and I am so appreciative of that. I could not say anything more positive about it. It absolutely keeps our community bright and happy and growing. I love it. I would also like to be regularly contributing along with them. And so part of that will be to schedule in the content from those YouTubers that I feel fit our philosophy here in Collectively Rewilding, and begin to put those out so that you have access to those. Another element of that will be in the personal report. There will be some YouTube videos, some articles, even maybe some scholarly papers where they're not too, how do I want to say this, too heavy worded, right? But that have some good information for those readers who want to take it that far and get into the scientific aspect of how to protect our plants from these extreme weather conditions, which will, yes, help the bugs, which will help the little animals, which will help the birds, which helps the soil, which helps all of the interactions between water, earth, and sky, right? It's really so interconnected, and we learn more and more what that interconnectedness looks like. And that's what Tammy's sharing with you here, that sound also plays a big role in that flora-fauna kingdom. And fauna being an area that's a little bit harder sometimes to figure out how to better interact with the larger it gets, right? That's where a lot of our struggle is as a country. Seeing this land bridge come in California is very encouraging. It is a very costly project. I think that trying to find ways that are more approachable for more communities to create land bridges or tunnels under different roadways that cause a lot of animal and, yes, human death, and also a lot of vehicle damage and cost for our communities. When we say environmentalism, it really should be humanism. We are saving the environment that works for us. So it is not something that has simply one element. Nothing is just one thing. When we save the whales, we are saving ourselves, right? It's just a big web. How do we move that forward? Things like prairie strips or wildflower strips in big agricultural endeavors are really showing huge improvement across a large area of the environment to me, almost the largest one is that they're really helping to eliminate this soil runoff that we see. The soil runoff, the water running over the ground and away rather than being absorbed by the ground. Also taking those chemicals, whether fertilizer or an insecticide, and washing that right into our water systems. So these strips of prairie or wildflowers are huge, huge steps forward. There's so many ways, whether you have a windowsill or a whole acre, it doesn't matter. You can do your part to interact in a way that makes you feel positive and is better for our earth, which means it's better for us, right? All right. Any questions? Anything you guys want to talk about going on with your gardens or where you're at? I'm kind of running out there, guys. I'm really hoping to feel better next week. I'm doing a lot of different things to keep trying to get better, and I'm almost there. So I'm really hoping next week we'll have a lot more to talk about. This is the first time going out and cutting down those little aspen and silver birch that I've been able to really contribute outside for over a week. So definitely, I think we'll have a little bit more to talk about next week. And I would love to hear what you guys are doing.
Thank you
Well,
for the updates. Oh, sorry.
go ahead. Is that Vanessa?
No, this is Rowana.
Oh, Rowana, I apologize. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I hope you're feeling better from last week.
It is much better. It's just these congestion.
Yeah,
Being a
sucks.
smoker, right? I smoke cigarettes and I drink soda, which
That's
sugar.
okay, it's normal. Yeah, everybody does their own thing, but as long as
Right.
you're taking care of yourself to recover, that's all that matters, you know?
Yeah, and I'm going to try once again to quit the sodas tomorrow. So we'll see. I'm having to drive a lot further to get it and pay more.
Oh,
So hopefully that'll just cut that the sugar, right? It adds to the inflammation in our bodies. So
yeah.
hopefully getting that
Some
out will be a positive thing. How have you been?
I've been doing good. I was gonna talk about the weather here. It's been raining a lot, so we haven't really been able to do much outside. It's either been extremely hot or it's been raining a lot. There's no happy medium. But the good thing is, the rain has been helping my plants a lot. I've seen they've actually the color of the leaves has changed a lot more now that they're getting more rainwater than me collecting water from the tap and then pouring and giving them water. They've
Oh yeah,
seem to
I
be
believe
enjoying
that.
that more. Um, Other than that, that's pretty much all that I've been able to do is just slip outside when I can to water the plants when it's not too hot. And when it rains, I put them out to get some water, but halfway through the rain, I gotta move them back out of, so
Mm-hmm.
they don't drown. It doesn't get too waterlogged. Um, but the only other thing I was just gonna suggest, since you were talking about quitting drinking soda,
Mm.
something that has helped my husband and I, because we drank a lot of soda too, and it's been very hard to like stop. I'm not gonna lie, but
I believe that too.
yeah, so we switched to they're called Ollipops.
Okay.
It's a type of soda, but it's actually not a soda, but it's a substitute where it's more fruity and more natural. So you still get the taste like you're drinking a soda, but it's not. And sugar wise, it's a lot less sugar. So if you
Mm.
want to try that, that's one suggestion.
Excellent.
Um, yeah, and then I guess there's some other flavored water options,
Mhm.
that help every now and then that are
I do
bubbly.
like water, right? Like once I can get
Yeah.
over the sugar craving, I really don't mind just drinking water. One of the things that I do is I keep apple juice and orange soda in the can. And
Yeah.
it's still a soda, but it doesn't have the tannin, so it's not leaching calcium from my bones at least, right? Because
Yeah.
the darker
Yeah.
sodas, they have that added. Tannin is an ingredient that they use to tan leather, and they put it into these
Uh,
sodas to create that dark caramely color. And
oh wow.
yeah, it actually leaches the calcium out of your bones. So
Oh. I did not
even
know that.
switching, yeah, it's bad stuff, right? So even switching to clear or light colored soda, such as um, cream soda and orange
Yeah,
soda,
yeah,
obviously Mountain Dew, I would not recommend as a substitute. That would be the opposite direction. But
yeah,
Sprite, 7 Up, right? Those
yeah.
clear and lightly colored sodas are much better for you. And I don't
Okay.
like them as much, so I end up quitting and just drinking water if I stick to it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
those are good suggestions though. I'll check out the Ollie Pops you said, yes?
Yeah, yeah, we seem to like them a lot. They're a good substitute for now until we find something else at least.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I also didn't used to like to keep the apple juice around, and I finally can comfortably. My children loved apple juice, but actually, apple juice for anyone under 12, you want to be sparing. Of course, juice
Yeah.
isn't a lot different for sugar content than soda, so you want to
Yes.
watch that. But
Yeah.
apple juice has a high concentration of arsenic in it. Arsenic
Oh, wow.
naturally occurs in the ground, right? That's why some plants do have it in them, like peach pits and all of the pits. They have high levels of arsenic. If you ever watch murder mysteries or things like that, you might be aware.
Oh,
Apples, just a single apple, you could eat 5 apples. You wouldn't get that much arsenic. But when you concentrate it to do something like cider or apple juice, you get a lot more of whatever's in that plant into,
mm.
a more concentrated form. And so you really want to be careful when you give
Oh,
children
wow.
12 and under apple juice. You want to really kind of spread it
That's,
out, be more sparing.
wow. Thank you for that. That's good to know. I had no idea.
Yeah. Um, I happened across it while my children were young and I was running a daycare. So it was,
Oh, wow. That
perfect
is,
timing for me.
yeah.
But it's not commonly communicated.
Yes, yes, but that's a very important point. Thank you for letting more. I'm definitely gonna pass that message on. That's
Yes,
very
because
important.
people don't know, and apple juice is a common thing that people think that they're giving their children and doing a
Yeah,
good job, not a damaging thing, right? And
yeah,
sugar and soda and fruit juice, it's kind of all around the same. So
yeah.
fruit juices are just a little bit better soda
Mm-hmm,
content wise than
mm-hmm.
sugar content wise than a soda. However, there are other negative things in a soda that are not in juice. So it is definitely better than soda. The
Mm-hmm.
only caveat is definitely to be careful with the apple juice and children.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all I have for my update.
Well, thank you, Rowana. I love hearing from you, and I can't imagine having that much rain. Let me just put it like that. I've
Um,
never experienced that.
yeah, I would have loved to complain, but we were crying for rain, so here we are.
Well, but it can get even more devastating in a way than a drought because you can keep doing different things, outside of someplace like Hawaii, right? If Hawaii doesn't get certain parts, at least of Hawaii, with the population level, if they don't get rain every 2 weeks, then they're in a drought and the water has to be shipped into Hawaii. Um, that's kind of a different thing. But in a typical drought, about it. It gets
Yeah.
to that point over time, and you keep making other preparations, and it's different than an inundation of water, like what we just saw in Texas. I
Mhm.
that is that's a different kind of an extreme, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So it all balance is better. That's what it is.
Yes.
And,
Yeah,
there's debate about how much human activity is causing the changes that we see now. There
yeah.
are a lot of timelines that the Earth is on that say that we would see some pretty extreme shifts at any point, that we're kind of like
Hmm.
behind on some of them, according to our current understandings in science. So when I hear people say, oh, human activity isn't the catalyst, it may not be the catalyst. I can't see how it doesn't have some effect, and that effect may be furthering what already could be going on in the underlying timeline of our planet.
Hmm.
Um, but in those time periods, whether human caused or not, the changes are extreme.
Yeah.
And if we want to be one of the species that survives it, not only do we want to consider how we are affecting the natural cycles, but also how do we continue forward? As each of us is
Hmm.
only one person, we cannot constrain the whole planet to make better decisions. And for some of it, we really truly don't know what the best decisions are, right? That's why I say with these governmental programs where they go and change huge things without doing incremental studies that increase in size, it's not a good plan, right? So what is the true answer? The truth is none of us know. We're just trying to do the best that we can. And so preparing ourselves for handling the extremes for what we're going through is just logical, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the best we can do is just do a little at a time and
Yes.
also just pay attention to the animals too. They do a good job
Absolutely.
of letting us know when things are getting out of hand.
And plants and animals. Yeah, very much. There are harbingers or harbingers. I'm not sure how you pronounce that.
Yeah.
For those of you who are, more concerned with it and you'd like to have different types of plans, please check out To Survive or Not to Survive. This is a course that we will eventually have that's interactive. However, I have to focus on the garden. My family has to focus on the garden before we get to go and play out in the wild, where you can show how to do the different things that are contained within this course structure here. This is a book. That's why it's called a table of contents. I actually have a written book. However, Collectively Rewilding and Mighty Networks allows me to present it as individual broken down lessons for each chapter, which is kind of a neat presentation of it. Also, anybody that's wanting the link to the online document for this book, you're welcome to just let me know and I'll get you that so you can see how it changes over time and see it as a document instead of as a lesson, also having the ability to print it if anyone is interested. So this is a really great place to spend a moment in. We don't want to obsess, right? That's one of the things we're trying to walk away from here in Collectively Rewilding. We want to focus on the things that we all can do to be positive and to be a solution in our own hearts and in our own spaces. And then also to take any kind of additional steps or preparations that we might want to in regards to the different things that we're facing as a nation, as a globe, as individual communities. Texas is certainly in a different set of shoes today than Utah or Florida or Alaska, right? So this is one of those areas. We've seen some pretty extreme situations over the past, say, 5 to 7 years. There were towns in New York, I believe, that a decade later, after some of the flooding there, they still hadn't gotten back to pre-flood utility provision, right? It is absolutely possible in this country, in this First Nation, highly, how do you want to say it? It's animated. It's got AI. It's got all of these electrical opportunities and options. And at any point, any one of our regions could get hit with something that brings us to our knees. And this chapter, or these chapters, these lessons absolutely will help you to prepare for regional, national, even global disasters. Something like Mount St. Helens gets a little bigger than that. It could affect the entire world, right? A big enough EMP from the sun could affect the entire world as far as electronic devices. This is absolutely some realistic, common sense things that you can do. Definitely, as Rowana said, doing it over time. You don't want to put a big stress onto your budget or your heart. This isn't a stress. This is each little step that we take takes away the stress, makes us feel more in charge of our own safety and preparedness. Go back 150 to 200 years, any family that had 2 years worth of supplies on hand was considered wealthy beyond measure, right? This is something that is a part of our historical knowledge, our ancestry, all cultures, all continents, all time periods. To store food and survival, sort of their survival today, before they would have, just a basic axe would not have been considered a survival tool. It was a daily lifestyle type of a tool. However, some of those tools are not as generally used in our daily lives. So that is more of a survival style tool. So maybe we compromise and we don't get a full-fledged axe, because we don't know if we'll ever use it or not in a survival situation, but we have a hatchet, a strong hatchet that could certainly be used as a small axe if something happened and perhaps we needed to even get out of our homes, right? What if there was some sort of flooding, you'd managed to be okay, you're still in your home, but now there's debris all around everywhere, all of your access points, right? You just need to get it out from in front of your front door. Something like a hatchet might be extremely useful if almost not necessary, right? So these are very small steps that we can take for ourselves and our families along with our gardening, which absolutely in these days of the chain line scarcity, I'm not going to say food scarcity, at least not for our country at this point. However, that can happen as well, right? Economic shifts can cause extreme difficulty for a nation to get the best foods. So if we're providing ourselves with our food as much as we're able to in our own spaces, and then we have some preparations behind us in our own spaces, we have wealth beyond measure, according to 99.9% of human history. And so all of those tools are always here for you to check out and start working through. Hopefully in the next year or so, my family and I will be able to go out into the wild to show how to set up an emergency shelter, right? To show our inept beginnings of trying to start a fire with a fire stick. Perhaps you're not even sure what I mean by a fire stick, or perhaps you're wondering, do I mean a stick that I twirl between my palms or something like a magnesium stick to strike a fire and begin that process, right? So all of those things are things that used to be a part of everyday life for all of humanity up until about 200, 150 years ago. They're wonderfully fun, entertaining things that you can also do to simply go out and be out in nature. It's amazing how much that will raise our serotonin and dopamine levels, how it can improve our health, how it will improve our skill sets. When you feel confident in your natural environment, it bleeds over into all other areas of your life. Feeling confident in nature is something that we're lacking a lot of times in this day and age. And that is part of the emptiness. That is part of the depression levels, the suicide levels. Absolutely, 100% can be proven if you want to go look into the studies, or simply can be observed around us. Lack of community and lack of nature fuel this depression state that so many of especially our younger generations are experiencing, right? As can staying too much in the worry space. So that's why we don't look at to survive or not to survive. That whole thought process is not a fear process. It's a part of taking back our heritage. It's a part of taking back our innate knowledge as a species. It is part of reclaiming our connections to each other and to the world. It is not a fear. It is a solution-based process to eliminate some of the fears that we have in our day-to-day world today. So just be aware those resources are absolutely out there for you, and they're becoming less and less fringe, right? You see it more and more in popular literature, from blogs and online magazines to news programs talking about it, reality TV shows. Become a part of that. It's actually quite simple. My husband and I started with the prepping mindset, about maybe 11, 12 years ago. And we just slowly built up our supplies over time, everything from freeze-dried food that'll last for 25 years on a shelf to camping gear that we will absolutely use once we can get back out into nature. Life was a little rough for us over the last little bit. We were up in Wyoming when they had their economic crisis. It was about energy subsidies up in Wyoming, but it was very comparable to the 2008 housing market crash that the rest of the nation experienced. Well, Wyoming went through theirs in about 2016. And that was right where some different things were going on in our lives. And so we lost our home up there and had to get our credit back and all of that. And it took us about 8 years. That's the time period. And throughout all of that, we still would throw little things that we could into our prepping. And we have a surprising amount of preps, considering that if we've done this for 11, 12 years at most, and 8 of those years were a constant struggle to try to get back to where we were, that we have amassed the kind of level of comfort that we have without it ever breaking our bank, being a huge stress level. It's actually something that we do as a family that's entertaining. You know, the kids being the age they are, they don't find it as entertaining as they once did. Hopefully they'll find more enjoyment out of it as they grow into their adult stages. However, we're going out and using it whether they like it or not, right? And that will, whether again a child enjoys it or not, it increases who they are as people, the more we can bring these positive experiences into their lives. And one of the things that I will be getting into our library resources, our resource library down here, I should say, are resources that help you get out into nature more easily, more economically, and also more immediately. You don't have to go far to experience nature, but there are resources there, even for those of us who live, as I have multiple times, both in California, in Utah right now to a large degree, and a little bit in Nevada. If you lived in the middle of some of those areas, if you didn't have a vehicle, it was almost impossible to get outside of the city environment, right? And you see that all over the country. There are resources out there to help us get out into the full environment, while there are also more environmental elements in our nearby space than we may realize. I have a buddy who lives in a pretty urbanized area of Ohio, and he would tell me that there was just absolutely nothing in his area. And every time he would go walking in his neighborhood and do his filming, I could point out places where he could have been looking for foods to forage if he absolutely had to. If, say, there was a regional disaster and there was nothing on the shelves and he needed to feed himself, there were plants right there in his vicinity in a very, very industrial to urbanized type of an area. Absolutely, there was forageable material right outside on his street in his neighborhood. So we can access nature wherever we are. And it may seem counterintuitive to start that process online, but especially for those younger generations, so much of their life is online. I don't think it is as counterintuitive as it appears. I think having that community, you can always go and check the member spotlight. One of the areas that it will share with you, not only those who are the most active, look at all your beautiful faces and avatars, the interests that you have, and the members near you. So you can check out these different folks. They have listed their area, and it will tell you that are nearer you, right? So as we continue to grow, we reached 150, so exciting. We will continue that process. It took years to get to this point, but the majority of you have joined in the last year. So it is something that will be a snowball effect, and we'll start seeing more and more new members. We're going to have a new email onboarding sequence that I wish so much I would have been able to provide to all of you who are already here with us. However, it will help to get the new members established, which will help the activity continue to increase, which will help those who have struggled maybe to figure out what they're doing here and how to do it in Collectively Rewilding, to see how that happens and to begin to interact themselves, right? So it's just a continual growing process for each of us, for this community, for our entire society. So many of us have these questions. So many of us want to be a part of that positive solution. And we can do that together in our own individual ways, in our own individual spaces, as well as find that community both here online and as we grow more and more in our physical areas, if that's something that we're looking for, right? And we'll also talk, of course, about how we can safely do that. Anytime we're approaching something from the online in our physical world, our safety measures have to be top notch, at the best of our game, keeping ourselves safe. We always, always, always meet in extremely public places. I recommend finding a place that has a lot of good security cameras that you know are working, that they monitor, and have a cup of coffee or something like that. There are also sometimes city services that are available. You can meet up at a town council meeting, right? That's a very safe place to begin to see if someone is a community member that maybe you want to start a community garden with, or that you want to have a walking buddy in your local park, right? We have to approach that safely. We have to approach people in our physical areas safely already, people in the online world even more so, and the most extreme when we're taking our online world and bringing it into our physical world. We always want to take all of those appropriate cautions, right? All right, guys. Anybody else
Oh,
wanting to add? Please go ahead.
hi
Hey, Quinn.
Sabrina, how you doing?
Good. And yourself?
I'm okay, hanging in there.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry.
uh, I know you were saying that you weren't feeling well. Do you with your garden, do you do any like I know I used to research and I tried to do it, but I don't know if it worked out, but I tried to do my own oil. Like I know oil of oregano is good
Mhm.
for congestion and like
I heard that. I had forgotten, but yeah, I have heard that.
yeah,
No, I
and
have not tried oil of oregano. I'm gonna write
yeah,
that down.
yeah, oil of oregano, and then I'm using now black seed oil.
Hmm.
I'm using that for my arthritis. And massaging it in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll see how that works. I'm not ingesting it, but
Right.
because it's getting expensive to buy it. So I'm like, why not? Let me see if I could try to make it myself, So I
So when
think
you come, and I'm not sure about black seed oil, there are some things that you can um, process more easily. When it comes to essential oils, you generally have to have a double boiler tech uh, equipment.
okay.
So you definitely, depending on the different oils, right? So
Mm-hmm.
citrus oils that are essential oils, they're pressed out of the orange skins, out of the lemon skins, the peels,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so
Yeah.
there are different things for different oils, but just be aware some of the oils that we get uh, take a lot more processing than we might realize.
Okay. Okay. So it's not as easy as saying it or whatever. There's more process
Right?
behind
Let's
it.
see what you said. Black seed oil. I've not heard of that one. Is that right?
The one that I have, I bought it from the vitamin shop, but
Uh-huh.
it's black cumin seed oil, but they said
Cumin.
it's the same as black seed oil. It's like it has different names, but it all boils down to black seed oil. It's the same thing. So it's like cumin seeds or so.
Okay.
The black
And
is good. It's supposed to be really good for you.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
I've tried it before. It tastes very nasty, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's really potent. Yeah.
yeah.
Smells potent too. It will clear your chest. It will definitely clear your sinus issues. It will help. So, but they said it's very good for inflammation.
So they're basically saying you're not going to be able to create cumin black seed oil, black cumin seed oil at home in the same types of methods that you can
Yeah.
use an oil with it, right? Like that's like a tincture. Different things may be called a little bit of different types of names, but tincture is a pretty general one, and
Mm-hmm.
that's different than creating a seed oil.
So
Okay.
the reason cumin is so good is because it's got turmeric in it. I
Mhm.
think that's how you say it. And that
Okay. And that's good for inflammation too,
yeah,
and
that's
arthritis.
really good.
Yeah.
Right. That's very good anti-inflammatory.
I like to research different oils, so I like to make little treatments for my hair. So, yeah, yeah. So,
But you can do it. You can infuse it, right? That's how, and you could see if it worked as well.
yeah, I usually buy it, but I was just curious. I was like, did you, since you say you go camping in nature, I'm like, I wonder does she does oils?
I do
So,
essential oils. I'm not as good about like their oregano oil. I Is that an essential oil or more like olive oil?
no, that would be essential, but it
Okay,
is the
I
oregano, but
might
it's the
have.
oil. It's like infused. You got to use a carrier oil. and it's like infused, I think.
I don't use carrier oils very often, only if it's
Oh,
like
okay.
cinnamon or something like that that's really, really strong. I mostly put them on pretty straight.
Okay, okay.
That's not something I would recommend for anyone, and obviously we don't recommend when it comes to things like that anyway. Like
Mm-hmm.
essential oil people that do the MLA or whatever they are, where they sell doTERRA or Young Living, they can't recommend things. They can say like, this is something that works for me, this is something that works for my friend, this is something, but you can't say
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this is something you should try. That can get you into trouble.
Okay, okay. All right, I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, um, I was having issues with uh the for some reason I don't know if I'm kicked out of Lesko too, but I'm only seeing collective
Oh,
rewilding.
check.
I'm only seeing that. That's it. Even when I go into the network to choose it, Lesko 2 doesn't come up anymore. So I've been having issues with that. But so I'm not getting any alerts. I'm just getting rewilding.
It's showing you as a member. We've had someone else have this problem. A couple
Yeah,
of
so I don't know why it's doing that. I
so
tried to type it in for search.
the only thing that I can
And
actually recommend
yeah.
is that you can't get into your account. Oh gosh.
No, I can get into my account. What I do is I go through my email, and then I'll click the link.
Mhm.
And luckily, I'll
Okay.
find
Is it
uh
on your phone that it's no longer on, where you just switch back and forth? Is that what you mean?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
all
mean,
you
the
need
app
to do.
itself, I don't think I have Mighty. I don't think I ever access Mighty through my laptop. I always do it on my phone. But
Uh-huh.
this time I'm surprised. All I see is just rewilding. There's no Let's Go 2.
So
So I
you
was like,
probably
what
just need to
happened?
sign back in
Yeah,
on your Mighty Networks app.
got it.
Let me look and see what that looks like. It
Because
should
it'll
be like
say
added
choose
to
a
my,
network, and
yeah,
usually it'll have the two. It'll have
right.
Rewilding and Let's Go 2, but this time it's just only Rewilding. Let's Go 2 is not showing up.
Let's just check. Give it just a second. I don't usually go through my app, so it has to go through all the like, oh, you don't update permissions, blah 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 kind of stuff. So,
Yes. So I've been missing the alerts. So I was like, oh no, today I haven't gone. Even on Sunday, it started since Sunday, and I missed Fun Nation and all of that. I had
they
to
actually, Megan wasn't able to have her classes. She
yeah,
tried, but her internet connectivity and Tammy's
got
have
it.
been bad. Tammy got a new internet service
Yeah.
because it's been so awful. So let me just show you.
I was
Okay.
luckily
So
to access it through the post, and then I
right.
realized she didn't have a workshop today. So yeah, I mean that
So
day.
here we are, where you see all my
Yes.
Mighty Networks, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then if you look all the way down at the bottom,
Yes.
where was it? Oh yeah, it doesn't look like it here, but it is. This is a little plus sign. You kind of can't totally see. It looks like a weird square, but that is actually a plus sign right here. And you just click this,
Okay.
and then you have to sign in to a new Mighty Network. So sign
Okay.
in, or discover networks, right? You can look for other networks to join if that's something that you're interested in. So you're looking for that join, sign in is what you're
Got
looking
it. Okay. All right. I'll do that. And I was like, oh no, what happened? How did I get kicked out? So
for. No fun.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
I think I know how to better direct people that are having problems with that as well, because I've had that come up, but only when people are talking to me in written comments and things, not live. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh, and Benny, not Benny. I said Benny because he's so active. Julio used to be really active, and he got kicked out like that. And I tried and tried to help him get back in, and tried to help him create a new account and all kinds of things. So
Okay.
if he reaches back out to me, maybe I can help him in that regard. Maybe that will be a piece that I can help him get back in the community with. But
No problem. Awesome. Thank you. Well, when you go camping, do you use any natural mosquito repellent or
I would definitely bring citronella candles.
okay.
When I started having kids, we kind of moved away from camping and things like that because our youngest child has autism that made something not very scheduled very uncomfortable for everyone.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah. Understood.
she's well
Understood.
past that point now. Now we just have to find the time, right?
Okay.
So when I was a kid, when I was younger, I didn't care about it that much. I would not use any of the chemical like wristbands and stuff that they have. They do have citronella wristbands. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's a little much citronella. I like citronella, but to have it on my person all the time would be a little bit rough. So it's to each of us our own level. Those are some really common, more natural ways that you can approach it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys, so let's check it out and see what we've got upcoming. We will be back together this Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Mountain, 9:30 p.m. Central, and 10:30 p.m. Eastern for Gardens and More Q&A. And tomorrow we also have the, let's pull up the Lesko Help To calendar. We have the not launch nonprofit, excuse me. Oh no, where did it go? Did we already move it? Why is it not here? It should be tomorrow. Let's see if I didn't go further enough. No. Did we move? That doesn't make any sense, guys. I wonder if somebody else deleted it. Hopefully not. Let's check out teaching sessions. And wait, that's not what I mean. I need to stay here. Oh my goodness, the layouts for all of the different areas are a little rough. I would like to streamline them all, and then I froze my computer. Let's see if that'll do that. Okay, there we go. Oh no, there it is. On Friday. Okay, must be just changed for this week. That's right, Megan wasn't. No, it looks like it's gotten changed permanently, but I'm really confused, you guys. Right now I'm very, very confused. I don't know how this is switched to Fridays, and it shouldn't be. It's been on Tuesday, and you're not able to change the date. Maybe that's something that's been updated. I'm really confused, you guys. I'm not sure if this is a glitch, if someone else changed this, or if, because I changed it for this week, I do remember Megan telling me that she wasn't going to be available this week. And so I put it to a different time. It shouldn't have affected the ongoing classes. That's really wild. Let's go further down. Yeah. I've seen some things like this going on in Mighty Networks. I had somebody comment on something earlier today, and it was when I had canceled Megan's Sunday Let's Go Help Navigating the Nations. On her event, I commented that it was canceled, but I had a member comment on it today, and she was correct. It was on Friday's All Business with Amber, or no, Monday's All Business with Amber for today's event, but I put it on Megan's Sunday's Let's Go Help Funding the Nations grants. I can never remember her title. So I'm not certain what's going on there, guys. So keep an eye on that. I can't make promises. At least our schedule here in Collectively Rewilding is correct. I'll talk to Megan. I'll talk to Julia May and see if they were able to get it to change. See if there's something in Mighty Networks that's updated from Julia May. I'm really quite confused. I do apologize. That's really weird. I know that it's been on Tuesdays in the past. Right? I'm not remembering this incorrectly. Let's see here. I'll be able to check.
You're talking about Megan, right?
Yes, our class.
Yeah. She says she does sometimes on Tuesdays.
She's supposed to be every Tuesday. It's been kind of hit or miss for a while, obviously, but it was Tuesdays. I just know that it was. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it was definitely on Tuesdays. So I am still confused, but I know that I'm not losing my mind, and that's always the better place to be. So we'll see if Mighty Networks corrects, and next week's launching on, or oh my gosh, Lance a nonprofit. I can never remember. There's too many name changes. And now I'm just completely discombobulated by the weird circumstance going on over there in Lesko Health too. So we'll shut it down with that ambiguous question mark hanging over our head appropriately enough for Let's Go Help too, and the fact that our next get together will also be about questions. And I hope you all have a fantastic week. Please feel free to unmute yourselves and say goodnight, everyone.
Sabrina.
Thank you
Good
guys.
night.
Bye, everyone.
Good
Sabrina.
night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you guys. You're all so wonderful.
Love
Enjoy
you,
your week.
Sabrina.
I love you as well, Mom.
Good
Bye,
night.
guys.